Hi, I'm Yasmine, and today I'm going to be going over some of the juicy details from the March 28th CSU Board of Directors meeting. First of all, the meeting was started with public input from guest speaker Laura Morales, who reviewed the current issues surrounding the Board of Accountability policy for CSU board members and explored possible reforms to a policy that was revoked in the previous term of fall 2024. Morales pointed out that the current policies surrounding accountability are ineffective. Board members are required to indicate whether they have completed the required 80 hours of work per month in order to receive their payments, and complete a journal report indicating whether or not they have completed their mandatory hours and what they will do moving forward to make up the missed hours if they failed to complete their mandatory work, as well as detail the tasks that they completed over the course of the month. Even though there are repercussions for not fulfilling one's paid hours, these repercussions are not moved forward automatically. Rather, whether or not a motion is enacted and punishment is taken place depends on someone putting forward a motion and whether or not the motion is passed. In the past, a motion was drafted to be put forward and was scrapped almost immediately because it was obvious that it would not be moved. For example, when Senator Priya McCurdy noticed that 3 of her monthly reports had been plagiarized by 2 other senators, Sophia Kara expressed her discontentment but did not put forward a motion. When asked about this, she stated that there are sanctions that can be placed on board members, but as we've seen in the past, they don't particularly happen because of the lack of accountability that has been present on this board. During the previous semester, fall 2024, portfolio critics were in the process of being hired to evaluate the quality of monthly journal reviews, and that was with the previous policy in place. The critics had no voting power and they couldn't count a quorum in meetings. So in their positions, they could have access to all information regarding the quality of journals so that they would be able to provide feedback. While the ultimate access allowed critics to provide very detailed instruction on how to improve work qualities in future months, they did not actually have the power to hold board members accountable. During her presentation, Morales proposed readapting the policy that was overturned during the previous semester because it was stated that the portfolio critics were not necessary, and so they were not hired. However, in hindsight, it's pretty clear that they were essential. The policy that Morales is proposing would encourage accountability in action rather than just suggesting accountability, whereby members who have failed to complete the required hours will have their payments withheld until they have detailed how they will be proceeding to complete their tasks and have done so successfully. The member will be unable to receive their payment at all if they fail to complete the outstanding work for the 2 or more consecutive payment periods. After that really thorough presentation, following the approval of the agenda, the introductions, and Morales' public input presentation, Kaplan Solanki presented on the report of the elections administrator, which outlined the engagement of the student body with the elections proceedings for CAPU student governance. From the collected data, it is still clear that there is an underrepresentation of domestic student participation in campus politics, even though it was slightly higher than the previous year. While there has been a slight increase in voter participation from domestic students between the 2024 and 2025 elections, the increase is negligible, with the overall student engagement having decreased. During the presentation, nominations from the report of the elections administration were highlighted, which are as follows: sections on nominations and engagement, a section on campaigning, on the process of voting itself, and then on appeals. Since the number of appeals is quite high, it is recommended that there are a few new procedures implemented. Once all presentations were complete, the agenda was approved. There was no unfinished business from the previous meetings, so the Board of Directors moved immediately into addressing recommended motions. The 2 main motions of focus were 1, the review of credit no credit policy, and 2, the review of reactivation after withdrawal policy. So for starters, the review of credit no credit policy. Basically, the way that registration currently currently works at CapU is that students enroll in credited courses and then receive a grade that is automatically calculated into their CGPA. However, having a CR or credit, no credit policy allows students to fulfill their breathe requirements or electives, receiving credit without the threat of lowering their GPA if all goes wrong. This currently is not in practice. While it is a standard at many other academic institutions, the Capilano Student Union believes that this practice can hinder academic exploration as it is currently instated, as students may be hesitant to take certain electives with the fear that their GPA will be damaged. To combat this issue, the CSU proposes that students should have the option of enrolling in electives and breathe requirement courses on a credit grant, CR, not credit granted, NC basis, which basically means that course credit will be counted towards the completion of degree requirements, and a grade will not be forced into the GPA unless the student gives consent. Second, the review of reactivation after withdrawal policy. Currently, CSU has a policy gap surrounding the withdrawal process and reactivation of student status following withdrawal. The CSU proposes possible amendments to the current policy, pointing out that students often withdraw from courses due to extenuating circumstances. However, there are no safeguards or supports in place to assist students in reactivating their student status if desired. After that, there really wasn't much of note that I can report on from March 28th CSU Board of Directors meeting, because due to either technical difficulties or being kicked out of the Zoom call, I was not able to be present. Breaking news live from the CSU meeting today on April 11th, 2025. Laura has informed me that this policy has finally made it and it has been passed into motion. So the critics will be returning, even though they were never hired. Now we're going to have critics who will evaluate the quality of journals. Very action-packed stuff. Unfortunately, I cannot give more detail now, so you will have to wait for the entirety of the summer semester and come back next year in the fall. If you graduated still, please tune in and support student journalism. Goodbye.